что, предлагаю всем взбодриться после перерыва.
So shall we continue after the break? And I can see very tired faces. Let's just come up with some things. For the best questions, I will give you prizes, a t-shirt, some cards, some magnets on the fridge, and these kind of just some tools like badge-like tools. I will speak about DeFi tools, and please raise your hand if you were into the introduction to DeFi, which was covered by Sergey. I will reiterate what DeFi is, and let us start with smart contracts. Obviously, we have to remember the basics. So, you are a developer, and I believe there are many developers here in the audience, and you want to create some backend service, so maybe some slide or website, some application, you use Python, C, Java. So how does it work? You run a program on a specific device, maybe on a PC or on a server, and basically it works in a server in a centralized way. But you can actually run the program in a decentralized way, and it works on a blockchain. You can use blockchain, and you can implement, you can run the code, and this is exactly what smart contract is. DeFi is a decentralized financial services, different applications which make it possible for you to interact with financial institutions using blockchain, using smart contracts. That means that these financial services are decentralized. There is no a single point of power. There is no intermediary interface as the government, and it does not control it. First, we will speak about wallets. A wallet is an interface for the interaction between blockchains. Then we will speak about stable coins, which are currencies tied to some fiat currencies like a USDT. We'll speak about farming. We'll speak about DEX. DEX basically is exchange where you can swap one currency for another. We will also speak about loans. You can have a loan in a cryptocurrency. It's not a secret anymore. We will speak about insurance, how it works, and you could have staking in DeFi. Let us start with the wallets. And let's have the definition. A wallet is just an interface for the interaction with the blockchain. Once you install this application, once you install a wallet, you don't install any blockchain. You just install a program which interacts with the blockchain. And you can actually interact with blockchain via a CMD line. Doesn't really matter, but it's not very, the interface is not very good, it's not user-friendly. That's why this application was created. Here is the MetaMask wallet. It's a wallet which has some Ethereum coins in it. It shows your balance, it shows your assets and the tokens which you have here on this wallet. You can send these assets maybe to a friend, you can pay for some services, you can buy some goods. But it's important to note that it's not the mobile application or a PC program, it's an extension for a browser. So question to you, why would we need a wallet as an extension for browser? Why would we need to do so? What's the point? Maybe to use them on the websites, to authorize, to log in to different websites. You are correct, and we will speak about it later. Now let's speak about stablecoins. Stablecoins is a cryptocurrency token which does not fluctuate depending on the supply and demand, and it's tied to the real money, to fiat money, for example, to US dollars, to euro, to gold, and so on. For example, you can see the graph of the price for USDT. It's a stable coin.
Самый известный распространенный
It's the most famous stable coin
которому доверяет большинство людей и
which the majority of people trust.
используют.
And it actually uses,
Может, вы
they
заметите, что он
actually use it.
колеблется, но если
You can see the
посмотреть
fluctuations,
на 2
but if you
пункта,
just see
это совсем не
how much
существенно.
it's
Но я
just
хочу
insignificant,
отметить,
about
что
1-2
так бывает не
points
всегда.
after the
Когда вы
comma.
храните
But I would like to say
стейблкоины, вы
that
должны
this is not always the
прежде
case.
всего
When
доверять
you store
компании, которая
stablecoins,
выпускает этот стейблкоин. Поэтому, иногда он
you have
может
to trust the company which
но
issues
в целом,
those stable
в
coins.
среднем по
Sometimes
плате
there could
он
be
нормально
collapses, but
работает.
on average they
Можно
work pretty
действительно
well.
хранить средства
So you
в
can actually store
стейблкоинах.
assets in stable coins.
Так, идем дальше. Второе определение это фарминг. Может, кто-то
Farming.
слышал?
Maybe somebody heard about farming,
Да, вот вижу
farming,
человека,
staking.
который поднял руку.
Yes, you raised your hand.
Что это такое?
Sure, I will give the definition first. What's the difference between DeFi and the government financial structures? For example, you have a business, you have an up-and-coming company developing, and you need to attract investors. You can do so by issuing bonds. You would have to take a little bit of money from all the users, and you have to attract them. And you have to attract to get even more money for the investors. But what do you need to do to issue bonds? You have to address to the central bank. You have to verify different procedures. You have to go through the red tape for the regulatory body. It's very tedious, it's very complicated, and there are certain criteria for these companies. It's not very, it's cumbersome. But in cryptocurrencies, especially in the services which use smart contracts, they also need money from general users just to generate some content and to give them back some of this income, and they do not need to issue any bonds. They can just make it possible for them to farm, and you just need to make a few clicks. So suppose I'm just a user, I want to invest my money into some project, I want to provide some liquidity. Now let's look at specific services. I will show you some pictures, you'll be able to go to the website and see it for yourself. Let's start with DEX exchange. Goes from exchange office. You have Ethereum tokens. And suppose you want to get USDT for Ethereum tokens. USDT is a stable coin tied to US dollars. Then you can go to DEX service and you can swap it. For example, there is a popular website, Uniswap. We go there, we click on launch up. And by the way, I spoke about the wallets, and I will see how this extension works for a typical website which works using smart contracts. So now we click connect, we select the wallet, in our case it's MetaMask. Then we select our account. I have multiple accounts. You probably would have only one account. Then we connect. And that's all. You are logged in. Here you can see the address of your wallet. It works perfect. And now we want to exchange. We set the amount of Ethereum that we want to swap, and we can see the exchange rate, how much USDT we will get. Then we'll push the accept button if you have enough money. And, well, we are not going away from the DEX topic, we continue it. So DEX is basically an exchange, a place where you give something and you get something in return. So how should it work? I am a seller, and there should be a buyer at the other end of the transaction. We give them Ethereum, but the service should have enough USDT to give me in exchange for Ethereum. So the question, where do they get these cryptocurrencies? And I will tell this for those who might not really understand it. They don't print it, they don't just draw it up. They should have these cryptocurrencies so that they could make an exchange. And this is what is called a pool of liquidity. a lot of different coins, crypto coins, crypto tokens are stored. And it's created for a reason. People need this pool of liquidity to swap their currency for a different currency. And we can use this pool. Okay, just one more time. How would a general user would do so? I spoke about farming, that we can provide some liquidity to the service and we can actually earn some money. How do we do so? Now, here is a different service. It's called Pancake Swap. It's an exchange application. We go to the farm and we see different pools of liquidity. For example, USDT Ethereum pair, USDT Ethereum, which I demonstrated before, and we see the annual interest if we invest, for example. Yes, you can just drop down the parameters. If we invest amount of Ethereum, we will get about 20% annual interest. We also have 400% of annual interest. Yes, it happens. The amount of tokens you put into the liquidity pool. The next DeFi capability is to get a loan. And you would ask, how would it happen? Because we get a loan, but what's the guarantee that we will get it, we will give it back? So what do you think? How does it work? Anyone want to guess? Yes, you are correct. If you want to take some cryptocurrency, you'll have to put some other cryptocurrency as a collateral. And, well, somebody doesn't really understand it. Let's discuss it during the Q&A session. I will answer it later. But now let's move on. It works without the third party, and that's important.
Что вы имеете в виду?
I'm sorry, please, can you verify the question? Yeah, basically, yes. I mean, you don't have to use the third-party services, because in a classical story, we have a bank which regulates our transaction, and they maybe do not want to verify this transaction. But we do it directly peer-to-peer. This person mentioned. Yeah, we already mentioned smart contracts. We already spoke about the advantages of them. So it's a typical service where we could have a crypto loan. It's called AAVE, AV. We can launch up, we can connect the wallet, and here we can see it. You can see the two sides of the interface, the left side and the right side. Here, on the right side, we can borrow, we can take a loan, we input the amount that we want, and we push the loan button. But on the left, we can lend some of our liquidity to the service as a part of farming, and we will get some annual interest. We can invest some USDT, and then we will get some interest after a year has passed.
Следующая возможность, она выделена здесь в отдельном кредитования, но называется оно мгновенные займы или
instantaneous loans or flash loans. What's the peculiarity here? We can take a loan, we can borrow, but without collateral. So how does it work? And why would you need so? The essence. So the main condition is we will have to return the loan to the same block of the transaction. Basically, we will have to do this within 30 seconds, 1 minute, 90 seconds, while the block is being created. If we do not do so, then the loan will not be verified and all the transactions will become invalid. This makes it possible for us to arbitrage. And I will mention what it means to have an arbitrage trade. I said that there are different exchange offices, but the idea is the same. You swap one token for a different token. But different exchange offices, different exchange rates. And there are some people who buy some tokens on one exchange and sell it on a different. But in order to be in this business, they need a lot of money. And these kind of people can refer to this flash loan services, and they can borrow this money for 30 seconds and they can make money on it. Now let's go to insurance. What can we insure in cryptocurrency? And we insure in a case of a breach of smart contract.
Приведу аналогию. Вот у вас какая-то криптокомпания, допустим.
Suppose you have a crypto company, some kind of service, which works using a smart contract. But smart contracts can be hacked. If we hack the smart contracts, we will not be able to fix it as soon as possible, maybe to fix some classical development. It's a little bit different, because smart contracts are not updated unless the developer had this peculiarity inside of it. And it's if your service is hacked, basically that's all. And for this case, you can make some insurance. You can insure for this case. There are different services, but I will speak about the simple one. Now, let's take a look at staking. Those who visited previous presentations probably heard about staking. Or maybe, yeah, we had proof of work and we had proof of stake. Please raise your hand if you heard about staking. Great. In a simple language, staking is an algorithm, a consensus algorithm, which makes it possible to validate blocks. The oldest consensus algorithm in Bitcoin is proof of work, and it's still there, but the majority of cryptocurrencies shift to a new technology, which is called proof of stake. You don't need graphic cards, you don't need this power intensity, which is very ineffective there. You verify the blocks with money. In order to verify the block, you need to have a big sum of money. And by investing the money into validating the block, you can earn some money. And there are certain services, which I don't give here, but there are some services where you can send your money and you can get some interest as a result.
Да, правильно отметили именно криптовалюту. Что ж, ну,
yes, this is correct. So that's my Telegram. I'll be glad to answer any questions. And this is the Telegram channel for our St. Petersburg Community Board Consortium. I'm ready to answer the questions. Thank you very much for the presentation. And speaking about, I understand it correctly that we are validators based on a smart contract. And once we stake on an exchange, what happens? Bybit, Binance, what happens in this case? Do exchanges, so we give them our right to validate transactions if we use exchanges or not? Answer. It's a very good question, and let me elaborate. In order to use a classical staking, directly to tell blockchain, okay, I want to be a validator, I want to stake this cryptocurrency, I want to use my cryptocurrency as a collateral to prove, to validate blocks, you would have to have a lot of cryptocurrency. There is a bottom limit, at least, well, maybe 10 Ethereum, at least, suppose. Is that a lot? Yes, so the bottom Ethereum is 32 Ethereum, and not everybody has 32 Ethereum, and they cannot become a validator. But services which make it possible for them to bring this money together and then put this collected money for the staking opportunities. Yes, and the exchanges which you spoke about, they make it possible for multiple users to bring their money together and to stake it. As far as I can understand, it's easy. It depends on the server. It depends on the service. Some of them use smart contracts. And there are two entities here. The validator, who basically send the minimum amount of stakes, and they use their hardware to validate the blocks. And there are the denominator, those who just they send additional tokens for the validators to have a higher chance to be selected for the next operation. And this can be implemented in different ways. For example, bot, you would send your tokens to some validator address, you would send your cryptocurrency, and the bot will remember in its database that you have this much tokens, and if the validator would decide to work, then they would know how much money every user would get. Clearly, it's not exactly a decentralized service, because we have a simple database, and any person who has access to this database can do some shenanigans there. But the most comprehensive, the best way to do so is to use smart contracts, and they control the staking operation. And in this case, if validator would make some mistake and they would be fined, or maybe some sanctions would be imposed, then your assets would return to you. So it's not you who control your assets at this point, controls your assets. You just send this money to a wallet, and then the owner of this wallet, they want to do this. And obviously, if you trust them, if it's trustworthy validator, they will give you back this money. So this is one extreme, and the other extreme is centralized situation, which is governed and controlled by only one player. I have two questions. Does insurance protect from the exploit implementation on smart contracts? As a result, assets could be stolen depending on where the smart contract is used. For example, in DeFi.
Как работает страхование? Есть, например, определенные
страховые компании, например, there are certain crypto insurance companies.
Chain analysis.
For example, chain analysis, and they have perform audits, they analyze these companies. And when you register in this chain analysis company, your company, it will be checked for potential fraudulent activities, potential threats, for potential risks. And then, as a result, the cost will be calculated. Question: suppose some project has their own bank, and this bank has enough assets to provide for staking or farming operations. And when exploit implementation, due to exploit, some of these assets could be stolen from the bank. Would insurance reimburse these stolen assets or not? Answer: yes, it would. Question. Second question: how is this implemented in Russia when we speak about profits collected from staking, from farming? How is this regulated, especially about the tax burden? Answer: there is a set of reports by the central bank, and probably you've heard about it already. It's a very big document, about 40 pages of technical text. I tried to read it, it was very difficult to read it. But in essence, The central bank said, it's really great, we don't really understand the technology, we just have to work more. So the idea, you have to look at each and specific case. Right now, this environment is only being formed, and the rules are pretty flexible. It depends on who considers this law. Currently, these laws are, but as far as I know, I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I know, as far as I know, it's very, and you would have to refer to a specialized lawyer. But the consensus of the central bank, they said, okay, so we don't really understand it, but it's very interesting, so we will see what happens. And you should be careful, because somebody already mentioned the draft of the law for the tax. Probably they want to regulate mining because it's very clear and it's easier to regulate. But profits can be different. For example, the profits from DAX, which is circulating within a blockchain, maybe multiple blockchains, you will not be able to see anywhere beside the blockchain, so it's really hard to notice. Yes, and another question brings about the nuance of anonymity. So this question is very important and it's multifaceted.
Андрей, спасибо за доклад.
Andrei, thank you for your presentation. I have a fundamental question. You spoke about this analogy with farming, that you get some money for the bonds issued by a company. But you saw that there could be some great numbers, like 400% of annual interest. When investors decide what bonds to buy, they can have some due diligence, they could analyze, they could audit the company. How would you protect yourself in the case of DeFi? Answer: no, you have to analyze the project where you want to invest to.
Здесь важный момент, если вот вы вложились в эту пару, в этот пул.
For example, if you invested into a pool and the pair of these coins goes down, you would lose your assets. If it rises, you do not earn. But you get money from the fees, which people pay for exchanges. And you have to know beforehand what kind of prospects this or that project has. There are some pairs of USDT and USDC, and they do not have any real fluctuations. And if you invest into this pool of these two exchanges, these two currencies, it's more reliable. And those 400% interest rate, in practice, 1 or 2 days, and then it goes lower, and then it gets to 50%, 25%, 10%.
Обычно вот этот процент, он зависит от двух показателей. Это волатильность монеты и
And one of the key feature is volatility and liquidity of a coin. The more liquidity a coin has, the more people decided to trust to this cryptocurrency, the more reliable it is conceived. So in general, you could say the volatility could basically take all your profits, especially if the coin drops. And I obviously suggest you read about risks before you invest into liquidity pools. You should read about risks. And it's very important to study the project. If you can see that, ideally, you should know the team, you should know the people, because the people is the foundation. Basically, I think they did not invent anything new about the blockchain. If a team is a good one, they will at least try not to betray their investors.
Если команда, если вы ее не знаете, то это увеличивает.
Is a shady one, obviously the risks increase. And especially when we speak about the publicity. Maybe a team is very public, maybe they go to official events, they are not anonymous. So this crypto area is very, very tight. It's very local. And reputation, obviously, yes, we wanted to go away from the reputation, but in the end, it's all about reputation. It's very expensive and it's very important. So I personally believe that
Я пытаюсь оценивать выгодность меня
I want to
Если,
analyze if it's valuable
скажем
to
так,
cheat on me.
может быть
If a
выгодно меня
project
обмануть,
can
то,
have some
это
benefit from
нехорошо.
cheating on me, then it's not really good.
Да, старая добрая чаша
Yes,
весов.
Извиняюсь,
yes, on the scales you have to weigh.
Возвращаясь к сравнению, никаких стандартов отчетности в данной сфере на данный момент нет. Если
Well, in fact, there are no standards for accounting in this area. Is that correct?
И стандарты это такое очень условное, потому что
Standards and accounting
могут меняться, тем более от сети
are
к сети.
pretty blurred.
Я бы сказал,
It's a new area. Moreover, standards can change. I think that you should look at the best practices instead. That's a good point. If the project follows best practices, having their roadmap, working on community development, disclosing their plans, it's a good community.
У молодого человека сзади вопрос.
I see a hand there.
Ребят, спасибо большое за доклад.
Guys, thank you very much for your presentation. I'd like to add something, if you don't mind, and address the previously asked question. I am engaged in smart contract audit at my leisure time as to risk assessment. In a classical situation, if we take institutions such as Ernst & Young and others, they have their tools. And their peers, such as SADC. In the crypto world, they assess and audit various crypto projects, including the code and the coins, and generate reports regarding the customer friendliness and protection level of those projects. And they also give you a heads up regarding all the potential fraud schemes. They have their respective websites, and I have mine. So you're welcome. To add to this, I'd like to encourage you to assess the risks of each and every project, because it's about your money. Thank you very much for your questions. Well, we have to move on, but before that, we have to pick the best question to give our gift. I like this question very much, the one regarding liquidity. I've been expecting this question. Please raise your hands, those of you who also ask questions. I think they deserve those magnets or badges first.
Все слышали про доходность и форму?
Has everyone heard about the profitability, cost efficiency? Don't hesitate to approach that young man down there to ask your questions. Will you please raise your hands, those of you who ask questions, to get your magnets? Thank you very much.